Beloved souls, have you ever wondered why, in the noisiest world we have ever lived in, your deepest answers seem to come in the stillest moments? What if I told you that silence itself is not empty, but the very voice of creation, ready to transform your destiny? Today, I invite you to journey with me beyond the noise, into the sacred power of silence, because when silence speaks, your entire life begins to change. Stay with me, and if you seek more messages of truth, light, and transformation, make sure you subscribe, like, and keep your heart open for the next video in this journey. There are people been tormented, beloved souls. I invite you today to listen, not merely with your ears, but with the innermost chamber of your heart. For there is a voice that speaks beyond words. Tone-dotted, or voice does not shout yet commands the universe itself. The message is simple, yet it carries within it the very seed of destiny. Silence speaks. There are people have been tormented, and when you honor its voice, your life will surely change. Silence is not weakness, nor is it emptiness. It is the sacred womb of creation, the unseen ground where divine ideas are conceived before they bloom into form. The world around you may roar with fear, criticism, and endless doubt, but silence is the gentle whisper that cuts through the noise. It is in that whisper both eternal truth is found, and within that truth lies your inevitable victory. The still voice within does not tremble at circumstance, nor does it beg for approval. It simply declares what already is. You are been tormented. Every word you release it is a vibration sent forth into the fabric of life. Words can build bridges or burn them, heal or wound, open doors or close them forever. But silence is harmony with the infinite law that never falters. In silence, you become aligned with divine order. And when you are aligned, nothing can be denied to you. Your steps are arranged in perfect sequence, your path is cleared before you, and the answer you seek rises with the certainty of the morning sun. Noise creates disorder. A restless tongue and a restless mind stir confusion, attracting chaos into your days. But when you choose the power of silence, clarity descends like a gift from heaven. It shines upon you as sunlight, as sun piercing through a storm. Suddenly the way forward is illuminated. The right thought comes unbidden, the right person crosses your path. There are people hinatated, and the right opportunity appears at your very door without striving, without struggle. Silence gives you mastery. For the one who has tamed the tongue has tamed the future. In silence you know being then longer live as a prisoner to the shifting winds of other people's opinions. You are freed from the endless need to explain yourself, to justify your choices, to defend your worth. You stand in the quiet strength of your own authority, and the world cannot help but bend to vibration you carry. People torted true power is not noisy, it is steady and irresistible. Every dream you cherish, every vision you nurture, must first be planted in the silent soil of the unseen. There are people been tormented. Nothing comes forth in down the visible without being shaped in the invisible. If you guard your dream in silence, if you keep it safe from idle chatter, from the doubt of others, there are people been tormented. From the temptation to speak for its time, your vision will flourish like a seed shielded from the storm. It will break through the earth in due season. The Narak Dowsi lamented, and no force prevent its blossoming. Even battles are won in silence. When confronted with hostility or criticism, you need not fight with the weapons of argument. For silence disarms opposition and dissolves the attack. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply shines, and the shadows vanish. Silence is your shield. There are people tormented, unshakable and invincible. And your silence, your spirit awakens. You begin to hear the voice always been speaking, the voice of wisdom, of guidance. Would you been torn of divine direction? The answers you thought were far away are revealed as close as your own breath. Miracles do not always arrive with thunder or trumpets, more often. They slip in softly, unnoticed by the busy, unseen by the restless. But in silence, you welcome them. In silence, grace moves without hindrance. Then transformation comes, not little by little, but in profound waves. For when silence becomes rooted within you, your vibration rises. You become magnetic to abundance, to peace, to love, to health, to success. The outer world shifts because your inner world has shifted first. So listen, beloved. Embrace silence, trust guard silence, and let silence speak for you. When silence speaks, the universe answers. And when the universe answers, there are people who've been tormented. Your life will never remain the same. Watch miracles unfold. Watch mirror fold. Watch every good thing rush to meet you. For silence is spoken, and its word is victory. Silence is not emptiness, nor is it absence. It is fullness. It is power. It is the sacred womb where creation itself takes form. To many, silence may appear as a void, a nothingness, but in truth it is the richest soil in which divine ideas are planted. Every great invention, every work of art, therapy been tormented, every breathe the spirit begins in silence. It is the place where the chatter of the world falls away, where the restless demands of the mind are quieted, therapy been tormented, and where the still, small voice of wisdom makes itself known. When the heart is troubled, when the mind is filled with fear, anxiety, and endless speculation, it becomes impossible to hear the higher guidance that is always present. Noise is not only external, it exists within, in the constant stream of thoughts that circle around our worries. But the moment you step into silence, when you withdraw from the need to analyze, explain, or control, can drown happened. Something profound happens. The open doorway. Into that doorway flows the whisper of infinite wisdom, quiet, undeniable, subtle, yet filled with power. Silence is the divine meeting place between the human and the infinite. It is here that inspiration strikes, not as a thunderclap, but as a gentle knowing. There are a spark of clarity that seems to appear out of nowhere. Yet it comes from the deepest source of all, spirit itself. When you give yourself to silence, that's where you've been tormented. You allow yourself to be reshaped by that source. Like to become receptive, like fertile ground waiting for the seed. And in due time, the seed germinates, grows roots, and rises into form. It is in silence that your truest desires are clarified. Without the noise of fear, you discover what you genuinely long for, been tormented, what your soul has been calling you toward all along. And in silence, you are reminded that the universe is abundant, that answers are always present, that solutions are never absent. Worry shouts, but wisdom whispers, fear clutters, but truth comes quietly. To embrace silence is to recognize that creation does not require force or struggle. It requires openness, receptivity, and trust. Just as a farmer does not pull at the seed to make it grow, but trusts the soil, so must you trust silence. For within that silence, the power of creation is already at work, meant it as shaping your life with the hand of infinite intelligence. Then tormented, every word spoken carries within a vibration, and that vibrations out into the universe, weaving itself into the fabric of life. Words are never empty. There are people been tormented. They are seeds planted in the unseen that eventually bear fruit in the seen. When you live in noise, when your speech is reckless and your thoughts uncontrolled, you scatter seeds without direction, creating confusion and delay in the unfolding of your good. But silence is different. In silence, there are people been galda. You align with the universal law that governs all creation, the eternal rhythm that never fails. Silence is the tuning of your inner being to the perfect pitch of the infinite, and once attuned, your life begins to move in harmony with a greater order. There are people, the universal law is always working, responding not to haste or fear, but to the vibration you carry. Noise disrupts that vibration, throwing it into discord. Silence restores it, stabilizes it, and anchors it in truth. When you are silent, you do not lose power, you gather it. You become like the ocean, vast and steady, moving with tides that cannot be rushed yet never fail to arrive. In silence, that the law of cause and effect does not require struggle, it requires alignment. There be been tormented, and alignment is born from stillness. It is in this silence that resistance falls away. The fears that once pressed upon your mind lose their grip. Their map in tornte, the doubts that demanded endless explanations dissolve into nothingness, and as you rest in silence, the law moves on your behalf. Your steps are guided without hesitation. There are people been tormented. The opportunities destined for you unfold with perfect timing. The answers you once sought outside yourself rise within, clear and undeniable. When you surrender to silence, there are people been tormented. You are no longer battling against the current of life. You are carried by it. You discover that the law is not an enemy to be overcome, but a friend to be trusted. But Pitorit Delampi, there be delay, every detour, every obstacle gives way when you are in harmony with its flow. The infinite does not hurry, yet it always arrives on time. Thus, silence is not passive. It is active alignment. It is the moment when you stop scattering your energy and begin gathering it into a force so magnetic, so precise. A people been tormented that life itself cannot resist responding. In silence, you and the universal law are one, and from that oneness comes the effortless unfolding of your highest good. Noise is the great disturber of life. It scatters energy clouds, judgment, and leave for noise the heart restless. A noisy mind with endless chatter and restless speculation creates confusion at every turn. It pulls you in different directions, never allowing you to stand firmly in truth. A restless tongue, to tormented and quick to speak and quicker still to defend or argue, stirs even greater chaos. The more you feed the noise, the less you are able to hear the guiding voice within. There are people been tormented, and the less clarity you find upon your path. Noise is the fog that hides the way forward, and those who remain in its grip stumble again and again. But silence us clears the fog. When you enter into stillness, when you refrain from filling every space with words, when you resist the urge to react, there are people been clarity begins to descend upon you. It is as though a window is opened in a stifled room and fresh air pours in. Silence lifts confusion and replaces it with understanding. Like sunlight breaking through the clouds, it illuminates what was hidden and reveals the next step, the right action, the perfect direction. In silence, there are people who've been tormented. The answers you once strained to find reveal them themselves effortlessly. The confusion that seemed immovable vanishes as though it had never been. There are people, the mind that was restless becomes calm, and in that calmness, ideas rise up like gentle waves, each one carrying a piece of wisdom, each one pointing toward the way forward. As there are people who've been tormented, once heavy with the heart, once heavy is lightened. Suddenly, you know what to do, not because you reasoned it out, but because silence made it known. Their amended silence also brings alignment with the right people and opportunities. For when the noise within you settles, your vibration steadies. There are people been tormented, you are no longer sending out mixed signals born of fear and indecision. Instead, you radiate certainty, and certainty draws to itself only that which is certain. The right people been tormented, those who carry the answers or support you require. The right opportunities open those that match the vision of your spirit. There are verpianti and they come without struggle, without forcing, without striving. Noise breeds chaos, but silence breeds order. In silence, clarity becomes your constant companion. Path unfolds step by step, not in confusion but in certainty, not in fear but in faith. Where there was once restlessness, there is now peace. And where there was once uncertainty, there is now the shining light of truth. Noise is the great disturber of life. It scatters energy clouds, judgment, and leave for noise the heart restless. A noisy mind with endless chatter and restless speculation creates confusion at every turn. It pulls you in different directions, never allowing you to stand firmly in truth. A restless tongue, to your eye tormented and quick to speak and quicker still to defend or argue, stirs even greater chaos. The more you feed the noise, the less you are able to hear the guiding voice within. There are people been tormented, and the less clarity you find upon your path. Noise is the fog that hides the way forward, and those who remain in its grip stumble again and again. But silence us clears the fog. When you enter into stillness, when you refrain from filling every space with words, when you resist the urge to react, there are people been clarity begins to descend upon you. It is as though a window is opened in a stifled room and fresh air pours in. Silence lifts confusion and replaces it with understanding. Like sunlight breaking through the clouds, it illuminates what was hidden and reveals the next step, the right action, the perfect direction. In silence, there are people who've been tormented. The answers you once strained to find reveal them themselves effortlessly. The confusion that seemed immovable vanishes as though it had never been. There are people, the mind that was restless becomes calm, and in that calmness, ideas rise up like gentle waves, each one carrying a piece of wisdom, each one pointing toward the way forward. As there are people who've been tormented, once heavy with the heart, once heavy is lightened. Suddenly, you know what to do, not because you reasoned it out, but because silence made it known. Their amended silence also brings alignment with the right people and opportunities. For when the noise within you settles, your vibration steadies. There are people been tormented, you are no longer sending out mixed signals born of fear and indecision. Instead, you radiate certainty, and certainty draws to itself only that which is certain. The right people been tormented, those who carry the answers or support you require. The right opportunities open those that match the vision of your spirit. There are verpianti and they come without struggle, without forcing, without striving. Noise breeds chaos, but silence breeds order. In silence, clarity becomes your constant companion. Path unfolds step by step, not in confusion but in certainty, not in fear but in faith. Where there was once restlessness, there is now peace. And where there was once uncertainty, there is now the shining light of truth. Before anything appears in the outer world, it is first shaped in the inner. Every building began as an idea, every invention as a vision. People been tormented, every transformation as a quiet stirring within. Manifestation is never random. It is the natural unfolding of what has already been created in the unseen realm. There are people who've been tormented, as silence is the fertile space where this creation begins. When you enter silence, you step into the workshop of the spirit, where desires are not forced but formed. They're meant not chased but received. Receive. In silence, receive. Your desires are given room to breathe. The noise of doubt, the chatter of fear, their manderban torment, and the weight of endless questioning often suffocate the very dreams you hold. But when you quiet the mind and still the tongue, those dreams begin to crystallize. There are people who've been tormented. They take shape not in confusion but in clarity. You begin to see them not as distant possibilities but as living realities already live within you. Silence acts as the sacred ground where your unseen vision grows roots strong enough to one day break through into form. There are people who've been toy. Every desire carries within it the power for fulfillment, but that power is often weakened by restless speech and scattered energy. There are people talking been too much about what has not yet formed can expose it to the winds of doubt, both from yourself and from others. Silence protects the process. It allows your vision to incubate, hidden but alive, waiting for the right season to emerge. Just as a seed germinates underground, unseen yet full of life, there are manifestation too. Does your manifestation take shape in the quiet unseen realm before it reveals itself in the visible? Silence also refines your desires. You thought in torment, you thought you wanted in the noise of the world may not be what your spirit truly longs for. When you withdraw into stillness, distractions fade. There are people who've been tormented and what remains is pure. You begin to sense which dreams are aligned with your highest good and which are simply the fleeting desires of the ego. There are people who've been tormented. This resentment ensures that when your vision manifests, it will not only satisfy you for a moment, but will uplift your entire life. They've been tormented. Manifestation is not about struggle, it is about alignment. And silence is the bridge that aligns the inner and outer, the invisible and visible. The desire and its fulfillment. In silence, your dreams are not only assured, for what is born in silence carries within it the unshakable stamp of destiny. When you give voice to your dreams too soon, you expose them to forces that may weaken their growth. Every vision begins as a delicate seed. There are tender and vulnerable in its early stages, just as a gardener does not pull a sprout to show it off before it has taken root. There are people been tormented, so must you guard the visions planted within you. Silence is the protective covering that allows those seeds to grow strong before they are revealed to the world. There are people who be lamented by holding your dreams in stillness. You shield them from the harsh of doubt, criticism, and misunderstanding that so easily uproot what is not yet established. Words spoken carelessly about your vision can invite the doubts of others, and often those doubts echo within your own mind. A single word of disbelief. There are people who've been torn, whether from yourself or another, can cast a shadow over the light of your dream. But silence keeps the light unbroken. It ensures that the energy of your vision remains pure, being untouched by negativity until it is strong enough to stand on its own. The quiet space you create becomes a sacred chamber where your dream is nurtured, hidden but alive. Or it is not been tormented, getting for its appointed time at him. There is restraint. Not every plan needs to be announced. Not every idea needs immediate validation. In fact, they are for two who've been tormented. They're precious the vision, the more it deserves the sanctuary of silence. When you resist the urge to explain or defend what is still forming, you allowed a divine timing to work on your behalf. What is meant for you cannot be stolen, delayed, or diminished, and in silence you protect its unfolding. There are but people who've been torn. All silence so deepens your relationship with your vision. When you speak less about it, you commune more deeply within yourself. You feel its presence more strongly. Who've been tormented, you hold it closer, and you allow it to expand within your imagination until it becomes undeniable. In that it gathers energy, it gathers clarity. There are people who've been powered and it gathers power. When the time is right, what you have guarded in silence with such force will emerge with certainty that no voice of opposition will matter. It will stand complete, undeniable, and radiant. For it's kept it safe. Silence has fed its strength, and silence has prepared it to manifest in its fullness. What you protect in silence, life itself will reveal in power. There are people who've been tormented. There is a strength in silence that no argument can rival. When you are faced with negativity, when others attack with words or actions, the natural impulse is to defend, to explain, to fight back. Yet every reaction feeds the very energy that seeks to unsettle you. Anger meets anger, and the fire grows hotter. But silenced. True. That tormented, confident silence is a shield that cannot be pierced. It does not add fuel to the flame, it extinguishes it. To remain silent in the face of hostility is not weakness, mastery. It is the recognition that no shadow can overpower light and no attack can touch the one who abides in stillness. Silence is a form of spiritual warfare. To your tormented, though it does not look like battle, it is the refusal to descend into the noise of conflict. It is the calm knowing that the law of divine justice is always at work. There are people who've been wail, others may scheme, to accuse or provoke. Silence keeps you anchored in peace. It is to rise, you rise above the storm rather than be swept away by it. There are people who've been tormented. Duty to prove them ourselves. You do not need to retaliate, for silence declares with greater force than words. Nothing can touch the one who stands rooted in truth. There are people meant even the most aggressive opposition loses power in the presence of silence. To the attacker, silence is unsettling, for they expect resistance, they expect struggle. They expect reaction. But when they are met with calm quietness, their weapons fall useless to the ground. Silence mirrors back their emptiness. It reveals the weakness of noise by refusing to join it. And in that refusal, the balance of power shifts, for true strength is never loud. It is steady, composed, and immovable. In silence, you align yourself with the unseen forces of protection and order. You no longer fight battles with human effort alone. There are people meant to you allow higher law to fight for you. This is why silence is victory, for it invites divine power to step in where human striving would fail. From what cannot be dissolved through debate or resistance is dissolved through silence. When you learn to meet negativity with silence, there are people being carried within you a shield that no weapon can penetrate. Silence is not retreat, is triumph. It is the unspoken declaration that you're beyond harm. This amen, your light is untouchable and that your destiny is secure. In silence, every battle is already won. In the stillness of silence, the ear of the heart opens wide. There is a voice that does not shout, a voice that cannot be heard in the clamor of the world. It is gentle. There are people been tormented, steady and sure, the voice of intuition, the divine compass within. Yet it often goes unnoticed, not because it is absent, but because of life drowns it out. There are who've been tormented, the endless opinions of others, the rush of responsibilities, the chatter of the restless mind. All these create a wall of sound that hides the subtle whisper of guidance. Only when you withdraw into silence does that wall dissolve, and the whisper becomes clear. Silence is not an escape from life, but a return to your center. In that center, there has always been waiting. It does not argue. It does not beg for attention. It simply reveals truth when you are ready to hear it. In silence, there are people been tormented. You discover that the answers you sought outside were never far away. They were resting quietly in the heart, waiting for the noise to subside. This is why silence is so powerful. It amplifies the inner voice until it becomes undeniable. When you cultivate silence, decisions become lighter. What once felt confusing suddenly feels simple. You no longer chase after advice in desperation, nor do you waver endlessly between choices. The heart knows, and in silence, been tormented, you hear it. This inner knowing is not forced, nor is it anxious. It comes like a calm certainty, as if you have always known the way but only just remembered. In silence, there who've been tormented, you also deepen your connection with the unseen. The more you listen, the more you realize that intuition is not merely your own thought, but a divine transmission. Your mandachu or people tornate, your spirit guiding you, the infinite leading you step by step toward your good. When you learn to trust this guidance, you no longer fear the unknown. You are people who've been through. You walk forward with confidence, knowing the next step will always appear in perfect time. The ear of the heart hears what the outer ear cannot. It hears reassurance when the world offers doubt. It hears direction when circumstances appear confusing. It hears truth when lies surround you. All of this becomes possible in silence, for silence clears the way for wisdom to be heard. In that quiet space, you are never lost. You are never always led. The miracle often arrives without sound, slipping quietly into place when least expected. It does not always come with signs and trumpets, but with a gentle unfolding, as natural as dawn breaking across the horizon. This is why silence is so vital. It creates the space where miracles can move unhindered. When you are busy explaining, forcing and striving, you block the flow of grace. But when you step into silence, you release the need, control the win. You allow the infinite to orchestrate details beyond your imagination, and in that allowance, the miraculous occurs. So often, people believe that blessings require constant action, endless speaking, or continuous effort. There are people who've been tormented, yet the breakthroughs often happen in moments of quiet surrender. It is in silence that doors open with knocking, that solutions arrive without searching. He've been tormented, that healing begins without struggle. Silence is not inactivity. It is cooperation with a higher order of life. There are people who then it is a sacred trust that what is meant for you cannot pass you by, and what belongs to you is already finding its way. In silence, people who have been tormented, you step aside and let the greater power work. You no longer hinder the flow with worry, with complaints, or with desperate explanations. Instead, there are people that you create a clear channel which grace can move freely. It is like a still lake that reflects the sky perfectly, undisturbed by ripples. The more silent you become, there are people who have been tormented, the clearer the reflection of divine order in your life. Miracles do not require fanfare to be real. A sudden peace in the midst of turmoil, a word spoken at the right moment, an opportunity that arrives without warning. These are miracles as surely as any grand event. Have you been tormented? Yet they are often missed because the noise of striving drowns out their gentle arrival. Silence sharpens your awareness so you can recognize them. It opens your eyes to see the extraordinary within the ordinary, the divine woven into the smallest details. When you embrace silence, there are people you make room for the miraculous to reveal itself. You are no longer blocking the current with your own restless will. Instead, you stand in quiet expectation, and the universe responds. Grace moves open, paths clear, and blessings arrive quietly, naturally, perfectly. In silence, miracles speak for themselves, and their language is unmistakable. To live by the law of silence is to invite transformation into every corner of your existence. Silence is not simply the absence of speech. It is a new way of being. There's a vibration that reshapes both the inner world and the outer. When you choose silence over idle words, you begin to conserve your energy. Or people been done to that gathered instead of scattering it. The gathered energy becomes power, and that power transforms you. It lifts your vibration. They're been torment, making you magnetic experiences that reflect the peace, clarity, and strength you cultivate within. Life cannot help but shift. They've been tormented because the outer is always a reflection of the inner. Silence changes the way you think. No longer are you enslaved by the constant chatter of the mind or the echo of opinions that once held you captive. In silence, thoughts become ordered, purposeful. And you've been tormented and aligned, your inner dialogue softens, and in that softening, space is created for truth to rise. This new clarity guides your words when you do speak, ensuring they are intentional, filled with power rather than scattered and weak. The more you practice silence, the more you discover that you don't need many words to create impact. Your presence itself begins to carry weight. Transformation through silence is not small or hidden. There are people been tormented. It is profound. Relationships shift because you no longer enter into needless conflict. Work becomes more aligned because you hear the direction of your intuition. The people who've meant even your body was finding a response where once there was strains, peace where there was tension. Silence allows every part of you to align with harmony. From that harmony flows abundance, love, and success. The law of silence also teaches patience, and with patience comes mastery. They're being tormented. You stop rushing to reveal your plans or justify your path, and in that restraint, you learn to trust divine timing. What is meant for you comes without struggle. There are people, and what is not meant for you fades quietly away. You are no longer pulled in 100 directions. You are steady, focused, and sure. As you live in this way, silence becomes not just a practice but a way of life. It shapes you into someone who no longer seeks power outside but carries it within. Your vibration rises, and with it, your entire reality transforms. Through silence, you become the living proof that true strength is not loud. It is still, steady, and unstoppable. My beloved listeners, we have walked together through the mystery and majesty of silence, and we have seen how it holds the power to change everything. But this is only the beginning. Greater revelations are yet to come. Deeper truths are waiting to be spoken. So I ask you, guard the silence within, live its power, and watch the miracles unfold in your own life. And if your spirit longs to go further, do not miss what comes next. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and be ready for the next message. Because your journey of transformation has only just begun.